Right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome all of you to your revision program. Today we are going to start your accounting revision class. Right. Okay. Last week we discussed. Last week we started your business studies class. Right. Today, from today, every Friday at 8:30, we are going to start your accounting class. But normally, since today is the first day, I gave some. A little time for others to join the class. Fine. So basically, let's have an idea about your paper. So this for accounting paper, it gives you 400 marks, right? 400 marks for paper 1 and paper 2. Right, paper 1 has compulsory 50 questions. I'm just reminding this once again. 50 questions, 1 to 30, multiple choice questions, and 31 to 50 short answers. Short answers. In this one, you have to write for 5 questions out of 6. 5 questions out of 6. So, first 2 questions are compulsory. These 2 questions are compulsory. This gives you 40 to 80 marks. Then, out of these 3, 4, 5, and 6. From these 4, you can select any 3 questions. Right? Any 3 questions into 40, 120. So 100. Yes. So total 200 marks are given for this. For 3 hours paper. You can have another 200 marks for this for 2 hours paper. Okay. So this is how your paper consists of. This is your paper structure. If you have no idea about it, you can write it. Okay, thank you. So this is your tute, and this is what we are going to discuss in this month. We can finish chapter number 1 faster, and we can start the basics of chapter number 2. This is not actually equation tute. This is just an introduction for equation. You will be given a new tute for equation, but in this tute, I try to give you some explanations about it. Okay, fine. So now let's go for the tute. So if you have the tube, you can bring it. If not, you can watch the screen. This is chapter number 1. Analysis, accounting and its environment. Okay, 2 parts are there. Right. Analysis, accounting part and accounting environment part. Right. Analysis, accounting and its environment. It has 2 parts. Right. Firstly, accounting analysis and environmental analysis. 2 things are there to be discussed. Okay. Okay. So compute. In the first slide, I have mentioned the introduction about it. Right, 1.1. Under this, you should know how to define accounting. If examiner asks you how to make how to define accounting, then you should know how to tell it. Right. Okay. Basically, importance of accounting you should know. You should have an idea about it. Then users of accounting information. Who are the users? Who are the stakeholders? Those who use this accounting information. Or stakeholders. Right. After that, you should know how to classify accounting and its differences. Right. What are the types of accounting, especially financial accounting process derived from the definition, derived from the stages of accounting system. In our theory class, we discuss these things very deeply. But in this stage also, I am going to discuss these things to get an idea. Okay. So the management of accounting process, the relationship between accounting and bookkeeping, and this is step 1.2, environmental factors of accounting, new trends in accounting and professional accounting institutions. These things you should know clearly under this one. Right. Now let's go for the mind map that has been already drawn. This is concept map for chapter number 1. In that one, you should know these things. Firstly, accounting and its needs. You should know what is accounting and its needs. Then introduction of accounting. Right. Then stakeholders, as we discussed earlier, and why do they interest? There are so many stakeholders are there, but we should know why do they interest on business, and what are the objectives of accounting, right? And what are the types of accounting? You know, basically financial accounting and management accounting. Earlier there were 3 things: financial accounting, management accounting, and cost accounting. But now in this syllabus, management accounting includes cost accounting. So cost accounting is including in management accounting. So these 2 are a single part. Right? Then you should know how to draw the process and what are the differences. Today, let's try these things as well. Right? How to differentiate these figures. Okay. Okay, let's go for next part. If you have the tube, you can bring it. Then definitions of accounting. Right? Definitions of accounting. There are so many definitions we can identify. Basically, traditional definition, right? Traditional definition. Who declared this traditional definition? Basically, the American Institute of Public Accountants, AICPA. Right? So it says that the art of recording, classifying, and summarizing in significant manner in terms of money, transactions and events which are in part list of financial character and interpreting the results thereof. So they identified basically only three functions. That's why it's called traditional definition. But modern definition says that accounting is a process of identifying, measuring, and communicating economic information to permit informed judgments and decisions of the users of the information. ASB, American Accounting Standard Board, the provision of information about the financial position, performance, and financial adaptability of an enterprise that is useful to a wide range of potential users in making economic decisions. They also declare some functions here, right? So, but you know that basically when we are talking about accounting functions, we are discussing these things. What are they? What are the accounting functions that we discuss? Basically, we need to identify information. After that, collecting. Then what? Classifying. Then recording. Then summarizing. Then analyzing and interpreting. Finally, communicating through various financial reports. Right? Okay, so these are the functions of accounting that we usually discuss. Functions of accounting. Okay, so these functions have been declared in various accounting bodies. Okay, now let's go for next part. Well, so these are the definitions declared by various parties regarding accounting. Now let's talk about accounting process as we discussed. Right, accounting process. In the accounting process, the process of converting economic activities of the business into economic information is known as the accounting process. But if you have the duty, you can highlight this part that is very important. Accounting process. Then financial accounting process. In financial accounting, you know that the economic activity, so inputs are transactions and events. And these are the process, these are the steps of the process that we discussed earlier. What are they? Identifying. Yes. Read it. Identifying, collecting, classifying, recording, summarizing, analyzing and interpreting, and communicating. The outputs of accounting we call this as financial. But we call these five as financial statements. What are these financial statements? Income statement, statement of financial position, cash flow statement, statement of change in equity, right, and notes. These are financial statements in financial accounting reports are communicated by. Okay, and then stakeholders. Financial statements uses both internal parties and external parties, but management accounting information used only by internal parties. So these are the basic factors of this. Now let's go for next one. Management accounting process. This is also very important. What are inputs? Historical and budgeted information. Right? Historical and budgeted information. Process, planning, preparing of budgets, controlling, marginal decision, analysis, investment decisions. Output, budget statement, accounting ratios, common activity analysis, management cost information, information of investment decisions, and always uses are internal stakeholders. Right? This is the process of management accounting. Okay, now let's go for next part. Professional accounting institute. This is actually a short note for first chapter. Professional accounting institutions. Firstly, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka. This is the authorized institution that absorbs international accounting standards into Sri Lanka. They convert that into Sri Lankan standards. Then the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, (CIMA). Then AAD, the Association of Accounting Technicians of Sri Lanka. Then ACCA or ACCA, the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, that's ACCA. Right. Now this is the last part, chapter number 2, 1.2. Concept now. This is actually a mind map. You should know these things firstly. Accounting environment, introduction, environmental factors, economic and political, technical and professional, legal, social and cultural, technological. These are the factors. But in business studies, you have to classify business environment as plus 10 DG. But in accounting, economic and political, technical and professional, legal, social and cultural, and technological. This is how you need to categorize accounting environment. So some figures are given in the examination, and the examiner can ask you categorize these activities based on the environmental factors of accounting. Then you should know those each and every transaction or incident belongs to which environmental factor. Yeah? Then these things you should know how to introduce these factors. Then changing environmental factors and the effects on accounting. How do these factors affect on accounting? When Chartered Accountants Institute, then they change the international standard. I mean, Sri Lanka accounting standards based on international accounting standards. Technical and professional things will change. When government implement a new tax policy throughout the budget, then it's become a law, legal. Right? When new accounting softwares are used like QuickBook, MyOB, P3, Matale, like that, technological environment will change. Accounting applications are there, so you should know how to adjust these things with the business accounting. Right. So this is a short note regarding that. You can read it. Economic and environment, political environment, like that. So legal environment is what. Everything are there in your tube. I'm showing your tube. If you have the tube, you can check this. If not, you can get your tube faster. This is a short note. How changes in accounting environment factors affecting accounting, economic and political, like that. These are the effects. How legal environment affect by legal factors. So many legal points are there. Now let's go for question number 1. What is accounting? Right. What is accounting? So you know, basically we are identifying accounting like this. So we define accounting as a process. That means accounting has input, process. Don't write it. I'm just explaining. And output. So accounting has a process like this: input, process, and output. What are the inputs of accounting? Inputs are transactions and events. Transactions and events. These are the inputs of accounting: transactions and events. So output, financial information. financial information. Who use this financial information? Stakeholders or economic decision makers. Economic decision makers. What do they use them? To make decisions or making their decisions efficiently and effectively. What are the process of accounting? You know that identifying, collecting, classifying, recording, summarizing, analyzing, and interpreting, communicating. These are the steps of the process. So how do we define accounting? Accounting is a process of providing financial information for economic decision makers to make their decisions efficiently and effectively with the base of transactions and events. Or accounting is a process of identifying, collecting, classifying, recording, summarizing, analyzing, and interpreting, communicating of financial transactions and events to provide financial information to economic decision makers to make their decisions efficiently and effectively. Right? You can create any definition as you wish, but let's come for a common definition. Okay, please write this. Okay, let's create a definition like this. Like that. Accounting is the entire process of accounting is the entire process of accounting is the entire process of providing economic information right? Accounting is the entire process of providing economic information to the stakeholders. Stakeholder is a one word. Stakeholders to the stakeholders of an accounting entity. Of an accounting entity. This is a rough definition. Okay, this is the definition for accounting. Let's go for question number 2. What is accounting entity? What is accounting entity? Right? Accounting entity What is accounting entity? Accounting entity means to whom do we prepare this accounting? To whom? We prepare accounting for people. That's we call personal accounting. Right? As a person, I create my own accounts. What are my incomes? What are my expenses? What are the remaining things? How should I invest my money? I know how to do my accounts. So later you should create your own personal accounting. So you are also an entity after that. Right? A person should know how to make accounts for himself. If not, he can recruit a person who is an expert in accounting and he can make accounting statements throughout that person, right? And businesses should prepare accounting statements for the particular business, right? That's we call business accounting. This is personal accounting, this is business accounting. Business should calculate what are total incomes of the business, what are the total expenses of the business, how much should they spread to the shareholders as dividends, right? How much should they keep their reserves for future consumption, right? Business accounting is that. Then how should they pay taxes to the government? It also includes that, right? And also, government should create accounting for government, public accounts, for government accounts, total income of the government, right? Total expenditure of the government, total expenditure towards health sector these days to import vaccines and everything, right? So government income, government budget is prepared for this. And finally, as a country, we should get everything that's called national accounting. This includes not only government, business, personal, and the entire country, right? National GDP is a national calculation of something, right? Total reserves to the country, total cash outflows from the country, right? Everything should be calculated in national accounting. So these are the this is I mean accounting is entity is actually a person, business, government, or entire country which uses financial statements. Okay, right under that, the person or the organization, the person or the organization. If you don't have the tube, just write the question number and write the answer. When you are getting the tube, you can copy that in the relevant question, in front of the relevant question. The person or the organization, the person or the organization, the person or the organization the person or the organization on which the accounting functions, on which the accounting functions, on which the accounting functions 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 are based is known as R 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 based is known as accounting entity, accounting entity, accounting entity, next slide. Following classifications can be identified. 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 Relating to an accounting entity. 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 Okay, number one. Number one. Number one. Personal accounting. Personal accounting. Number two, business accounting. Business accounting. Business accounting. Number three, government accounting. Government accounting. Number four, national accounting. National accounting. National accounting. Right, I gave you a paper with your paper kit. But with your paper kit, I gave you a paper. So today, basically, we can't discuss it. Why? Because most of you didn't get it, right? Okay. Then if you have it, this is what we need to do at the end of first chapter. After doing first chapter, memory test is given, right? Like this, you have to write for how many questions are included there? Here 50 questions are there, right? Regarding chapter number 1. I got most of these questions from your professional accounting examinations. That's why only 4 answers are given. In accounting, it's 5 alternative answers are given, but in professional courses, it's only 4. So I gathered these questions from professional accounting courses. Why? Sometimes these questions can be repeated in your paper as well, because the same lecture panel contribute for the paper settings. Okay. Right, let's go for question number 3. Question number 3. Identify the importance of accounting. You know that there are 3 basic importance are there, right? Okay. Importance of accounting. Okay, let's write number 1. Importance of accounting. Write number 1. Accounting as a source of finance. Accounting as a source of finance. Write this one. Accounting as a source of finance. Accounting as a source of finance. Right, what is this? Accounting as a source of finance. This is the main objective of the business. Right, this is the main objective. You know that accounting is an information science. Right, we provide financial statements to decision makers. So this is the main objective of accounting. Okay, read it. Accounting provides useful information to the interested parties for decision making. Right, decision making. We are serving for the decision makers. Accounting information is useful, number 1, to know the financial performance and position of the business. You know that basically financial performance. To evaluate financial performance, what do we prepare? We prepare income statement. Income statement. And to do financial position, statement of financial position. For what? For the financial position. To evaluate the financial position of the business, we do prepare statement of financial position. Income statement and statement of financial position. To know the financial performance and position of the business. Number 2, to fulfill legal requirements, especially businesses like incorporation companies, right? Legal requirement. To fulfill legal requirement. What are the examples? Incorporated companies. Incorporated companies. Businesses like incorporated companies, they should prepare financial statements and they should submit that to the company registrar. Then only they can get the permission to do businesses in the next year. If not, their board will be compensated. Then to minimize errors and omissions, especially in double entry system, we can reveal so many omissions. Okay, that is number one, accounting as a source of finance. Number two, accounting as a source of finance. Then number two, accounting as a medium of control. Right, number two, accounting as a medium of control. Medium of control. Accounting as a medium of control. What is it? Accounting information is used to identify the changes and to control the expenses and other activities accordingly. Right, throughout relevant expense accounts, cash control account, assets account, right, we can control our resources. We can carefully control. Number three, accounting as a social phenomenon. Accounting as a social phenomenon. What is the meaning of that? This says that accounting and society are not two different things. Accounting is a part of society. To bring the society to the next level, accounting is also contributed. Read it. To the usefulness of accounting to the society as a whole is the fundamental criteria to treat as a social science. Although the individuals may benefit, system generates information for social good. It serves social purposes. It contributes for social progress. People can do their things very properly. Why? When they are doing accounting. Businesses can grow up easily. Why? They know what are the things to be focused on because of accounting statements. Government should know what are the things to be improved for national growth. So everything gives that accounting. So what is number one? Accounting as a source of finance. Number two, accounting as a medium of control. Number three, accounting as a social phenomenon. Right? If an examiner asks you to explain these things, you should write these things in your. You have to include these things to you in your answer. Fine. Let's go for next question. This is also very important. Briefly explain the objectives of accounting. Objectives of accounting. Objectives of accounting. Let's go for number one. This is the first objective. First objective, write this one. For keeping proper records for keeping proper records for keeping proper records for keeping proper records. What is the meaning of this? Why is it become an objective of accounting? Read it. Keeping all transactions of a business in memory is a difficult task, of course. Why? There are hundreds of transactions occur in the business organization daily. Accounting provides a good service through recording transactions in accounting books in a proper manner. Right. This is number one. Okay, right, number two. What is number two? Number two, to give an understanding on understanding on business operations. Business operations. To give an understanding on business operations. This is also another important thing. To give an understanding on business operations. To give an understanding on business operations. Okay, read it. Accounting provides information of results of operations of a business for a period of time, which is known as profit or loss. Business entities prepare income statement in order to provide such information, and the profit or loss is ascertained by matching income and expenses related to the specific period, income and expense. This is matching concept. Specific period, but that is periodicity concept. This is also an objective of accounting, to give an idea, to give an image of the business. That is number two, to give an understanding on business operations. Let's go for number three. This is number three. By third one. Number three. Number three. What was number two? Number two was to give an understanding on results of business operations, right? I think you wrote it clearly, correctly. Number two, to give an understanding on results of financial operations. Is that the one I told you? Please type as yes. To give an understanding on results of business operations. Is that the one I told you? Okay. Number 3. To give an understanding on financial position of the business. Financial position of the business. Continue to give an understanding on financial position of the business. To give an understanding on financial position of the business. Financial position of the business. Right, what is that? Business community has interest on financial position, which is information on cash amounts, assets and liability amounts. Nevertheless, the profit or loss, financial accounting provides information on the financial strength. So it gives the complete information about financial position. Okay, number 4. To give an understanding on liquidity level of the business. Liquidity level of the business. Liquidity level of the business. Right, what is liquidity? Liquidity means what are the assets that I have to spend fast. As an example, suppose that I have 10 million valued land, building, machinery and motor vehicle, but in my account there is only 10,000. So how many liquid assets do I have? Only 10,000. From this liquid asset, I have to settle bank loan installments. I have to pay expenses like salary, electricity bill, etc. Liquid assets are very important. Others are also important, but liquid assets are very important. If not, we can't conduct our activities smoothly. Without giving money to the suppliers, how can we purchase raw material for production process? Without paying electricity bill, how do we do business operations? Without paying salaries to staff, how do we get their commitment to the business? So liquid assets are very important other than investing assets. Okay, let's read it. Financial accounting presents information on methods of earning income and incurring expenses, proceeding from loans, loan settlements, capital transactions, financial dividends, and distributions to other stakeholders which affect liquidity and solvency of the business. Right. Fifth one, to protect properties. To protect properties. Right. Accounting provides up-to-date information on assets and liabilities owned by the business. Right. That is number 5. We have write 7 things. Sixth one. Right, number 6. To make logical decisions. To make logical decisions. right, to make logical decisions. Accounting records and financial statements provide financial information to relevant parties in order to make logical decisions regarding various profiles of the business. Last one, right? Last one. To complete legal requirements. To complete legal requirements. To complete legal requirements. Okay, legal framework has made compulsory requirement on preparation and maintenance of accounting records to be adhered by companies, organizations, and trustees, such as Companies Act. Okay. Right. So let's go for the last question of the day. Right. Last question. This is actually the last question that I want to discuss today. From next day, we have to discuss at least 3 hours, because why? Some of you didn't get the tune today. That's why we decided to stop the questions from question number 5. But next day for sure, we should finish chapter number 1. Right? We can't take too much of time like theory class to finish these things. Right? We have to go quite faster. So if you didn't get the theory tune yet, please try to get your theory tune faster, because without tune, it's useless of attending for this. And some student institute said that some students have made their fees, but they didn't inform their postal address and other things to hand over dues. Once you make the payment, please inform that to the class. How do you know that it's you? Because how so many students are making payments to the account. So once you make it, so please send us your deposit slip by writing your barcode number and subject. And Tuesday, as usual, from 8:30, we are conducting your business studies revision class. That is the second day. Right, first day we discuss one case study, and this day we are going to discuss from case study number 2. Okay, so let's write some parties and reasons for the interests. Let's write faster. Number 1. Owners. Owner or owners. If it's a sole proprietorship, its stakeholder is the owner. If it's a partnership, it's owners. Right, owner or owners. Reasons for the interest. What are the reasons? 2 things are there, so please manage the space. Number one, to know whether there is a satisfactory return. There is a satisfactory return there is a satisfactory return. There is a satisfactory return on investment. On investment. To know whether there is a satisfactory return on investment. They should know that because they are the owners, they are the capital providers. Why do they provide capital? To expect a fair return. So they should make sure whether their investment is profitable or not. Number two, to know whether further investment is needed. To know whether further investment. To know whether further investment. To know whether further investment is needed. Right, that is number one. That is why owners are interested on business activities. Number two, managers. Managers. Okay, by managers. Number one, to know whether plans are, to know whether plans are, to know whether plans are implemented accordingly. 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 know whether plans are implemented accordingly. Number 2, to know the required actions, to know the required actions, to know the required actions, to know the required actions for future development, for future development. For future development. Number 1, to know whether plans are implemented accordingly. Number 2, to know the required actions for future development. Right. Number 3, employees. Employees. Now we'll see why do they interest on business information. Number 1, to know whether the job is secure. To know whether the job is secured. To know whether the job is secured. Number 2, to know the ability of salary increments. 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 Next one. Government institutions. Government institutions. Government institutions. Let's write 3 reasons, right? So please manage your space. 3 reasons. Number 1, are payment of taxes in accordance. 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 Number 2, are quality products provided for fair prices. Are quality products provided for fair prices. Are quality products provided for fair prices. Last one, are required records provided. Let's write 3 things for this. Are required records provided. Are required records provided. Are required records provided. Are required records provided. To relevant institutions. To relevant institutions. Are required records provided to relevant institutions. Next part is customers. 2 more after this. Customers. By being customers, why do we want this? Let's type 2 points. Number 1, Is the business stable? Is the business stable? Is the business stable? To honor guarantees and warranties. To honor guarantees and warranties. To honor guarantees and warranties. Guarantees and warranties. Is the business stable to honor guarantees and warranties? Number 2. Question number 2. Number 2. Is the business capable? Is the business capable? Is the business capable? Is the business capable of reducing prices? Of reducing prices? Of reducing prices? Is the business capable of reducing prices of goods and services? Of goods and services? Of goods and services? Next one. Creditors or lending institutions. Creditors or lending institutions. Lending institutions. Creditors or lending institutions. Two things should be mentioned. Number 1. Number 1. Are loans recoverable? Are loans recoverable? Are loans recoverable? Number 2. Is it acceptable to provide? Is it acceptable to provide? Is it acceptable to provide? Is it acceptable to provide further loans? Is it acceptable to provide further loans? Last one, competitors. This is the last stakeholder that we need to talk today. Competitors. Now let's talk about how competitors influence on business activities. Right? Let's try 2 things. So this is the last part of the day. Next day, let's discuss nearly 3 hours, and let's try to finish chapter number 1 officially. Then we can do past papers at the same time, and let's go for the introduction of chapter number 2. That is our task in this month. Competitors. Right, number 1, 2 things are there. To identify market share. To identify market share. To identify market share. They want to know how much our market share is. To identify market share. Number 2, to identify market strategies. To identify market strategies. To identify market strategies. to identify market strategies. Right. So next day we are going to talk a very important part, differences between financial accounting and management accounting. So in the theory class also we discussed some things, but in this case we are going to discuss something broader than that. Right, when compared to that one, we are going to discuss something broader than your theory class. So before joining for the next class, next class I won't be able to publish the link directly through your Telegram or WhatsApp groups. So once you make the payments, you have to come to the link. You have to come to the site and get the link. That is the procedure. Since this is the first week, I decided to give you a trial to see how our activities are going on. Now you know how our business class is going on and how our accounting class is going on. So from next day, once you make the payments to the institute, they will allow you to come to the site and get into the Zoom link. So this is how we have arranged these things. So this is what I want to basically discuss today. From next week, let's try to do at least 3 hours per day. So please read the short note very carefully. Every theoretical parts are included there. Okay, so our next our timetable is, when do we conduct our theory class of business studies or revision class? When, if you remember time, please tell me. Business studies, when? This is your revision timetable. If some newcomers are there, just have an idea. Business studies. Yes, Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. Right? Sometimes that will ask for 11:30. Accounting. Friday at 8:30 a.m. Right? So this is your timetable. I expect to do this for 3 hours. Right? Then only we can go quite faster. In our theory classes, we are going to start insurance tomorrow, right? And we are going to finish financial statements of sole proprietorship tomorrow. Then next week in accounting, we are going to start manufacturing accounts, business studies, insurance accounts, right? So insurance, right? Okay, so that's all for today. Thank you for joining. I think you have a good idea about our revision class. From next week, we have to face for a daily test as well. That's why I'm getting more than 3 hours for your class. Every day you will have to face for a daily test of 30 minutes. Right? We have to practice while we are learning new things. Right? Okay, that's all for today. Thank you for joining, guys. Have a nice week. See you in the golden hour. Probably tonight we won't be able to conduct it by some of our staff meetings have been arranged. I'll try to make it on Sunday or Monday, one of these days. Right? Okay. So thank you for joining. Golden hour will continue for sure. Somebody has said, what is the class fee? I recorded that to your Telegram group. If you want to ask something about that, you better contact me personally, right? Okay, thank you for joining, guys. Have a nice week. See you, everybody. Stay safe. Right, let's talk.